EmuParadise is dead. Long live emulation. Unfortunately, EmuParadise, pretty much the premier emulation site on the net with nearly 20 years of good coverage of all your retro games, which no one will sell you anymore, has preemptively decided to shut down their downloads section, primarily because Nintendo lawsuits against two other sites, Love Retro and Love ROMs, have basically scared them. It's scared EmuParadise into trying to avoid lawsuits. EmuParadise actually put up a statement on their site, and I'll just read you like a little excerpt which basically says, "It's not worth it for us to potentially risk disastrous consequences. I cannot in good conscience risk the futures of our team members who have contributed to the site throughout the years. We run EmuParadise for the love of retro games, so you be able to revisit those good times. Unfortunately, it's not possible right now to do so in a way that makes everyone happy and keeps us out of trouble." That's exactly what it is. They are simply scared of Nintendo suing them like they did to Love Retro and Love ROMs, and I believe the Love ROMs lawsuit is for like $100 million or something like that. All these ROM sites, the only way they make money, they're not selling them, Nintendo, you silly sod. What they're doing is just getting advertisement space. That's all. That's all they're getting. They are not making any money off actually giving these downloads away, because I've only really gotten into the emulation scene over the past couple of years or so. Primarily, I've got hardware modified consoles. So I've got a few modified PS2s and a modded Dreamcast, which allows me to play ROMs through physical modification, because that's a little bit easier than doing it via software. But I do have software options as well, like I got my GPD-XD Plus, which I use for quite a lot of PS1 games, which you can't actually download. But the real big silly thing about this of Nintendo is it completely flies in the face of the basic laws of economics, which you think a business as old as Nintendo would know about. Supply, demand, price. The immutable pillars. If all that Nintendo are trying to do is trying to reduce the supply, it does not affect the demand at all. And seeing as how the price is free, that's not really an issue. All they're going to do by shutting down places like Love Retro, Love ROMs, and the ancillaries like poor EmuParadise, is simply push people to the dodgy sites, the sites which are filled with viruses and malware. They're not going to stop people from wanting to emulate in the first flipping place. Not only that, they don't give a crap about this, okay? All they see is they see an alternative for people to get, say, Super Mario Brothers for free instead of buying it for the 10th or 12th time. Seriously, that's all Nintendo wants. Nintendo wants for you to, every single time they release a new bit of hardware, is for you to have to re-buy the games you have bought since the 80s. That's all they want. They just want to keep they just want to keep sucking dry your wallet of things you already have. At the very least, with things like, say, VHS, DVD, Blu-ray, and then the streaming, even if, say, Netflix dies, or Blu-rays turn out to melt if you keep them for more than 2 years, and DVDs get very easily scratched because no one ever stores them properly, you can still put in your old VHS tape and watch it. Unfortunately, with an attitude like Nintendo's, it means the importance of archiving is completely thrown out the window in sake of profit. There are going to be games which were released on systems before maybe even many of you listening to this were born, that are not going to find their way to a virtual console of some description or a Steam page or whatever. They are just going to be gone. And if Nintendo had their way, they wouldn't care. If they can't resell it, who cares? Well, the people who played those games and liked them back in the day, who might like to play them again or show them to their kids, well, they will do that. And if you don't give them an option to do it legally, they are going to do it illegally. But the really, really daft thing about this is, all this will do will be to get rid of one of the oldest reputable, and that's the important bit, reputable points of emulation on the internet. People are just going to go elsewhere. Once something is on the internet, it's on the internet forever. And trying to do it this way, just suing people to try and get whatever you want to stop happening on the internet, why don't you ask the music industry and see how their campaign against MP3s is going? Oh, you mean the one which they gave up because they realised you can't stop humanity from doing what it wants to do? Freaking exactly. But one of the big problems with this sort of thing is, especially with consoles and especially with Nintendo, is that they tie the downloads to the console itself. So if you got a download for the original Wii, say, and that game got re-released for the Wii U, you would have to buy it again. And now, if it comes out on Nintendo Switch, you would have to buy it again. And that's what they want, because they can simply keep repackaging the exact same thing to you and sell it over and over and over again. What would make infinitely more sense would be, instead of tying these downloadable items, either games or DLC, to hardware, why not simply have them linked to a personal account that the customer has with the company? It identifies exactly what games and DLC they have bought, and then when those items are released on the next generation of hardware, when and or if they are, the customer can then simply log into their account on the new system and re-download what they've already bought. Letting people know you will do that will make them stop going to these sites for emulation and piracy and whatnot. I mean, freaking Gaben, Lord Gaben himself, a quote here I've got, sums it up perfectly. Piracy is almost always a service problem and not a pricing problem. If you give people better service than the pirates, they will pay for it. And that's just like, because, yeah, you could argue about issues like, well, emulation is illegal, you're stealing from the people who made the game. Yeah, that's not how, at least as far as I'm aware, and those things have seriously changed over the past 5 minutes. It works in the games industry. People who make the games you love to play, they get paid to make the game. They don't get royalties from it. Shigeru Miyamoto is not getting a cut from all of those digital download versions of Super Mario Brothers. He did that. He got paid the first time around. That was it. So if you're on a console and you download an old game, all you're doing, your money does not go to the people who made it so that they can continue making even more good games. What it's doing is that money is simply going towards the company that bought the license. That's it. You are giving your money to rich guys in suits that have never made a game in their goddamn lives. That is why people like emulating. Not only the free aspect, sometimes it is even more ethical than buying the DLC. And even then, games make the vast majority of their profits in the first day that they're released. Give it a year and they will have made well over 90% or so of the money that game will ever make, including remakes, remasters, downloadable re-releases later on in the time. So realistically, with emulation, what I say is this: if it's PC, 10 years. After 10 years, as far as I'm concerned, any money, any whatsoever that could be made from that game will have been made. So therefore, you emulating, like, say, the original Monkey Island games, for example, well over 10 years, is absolutely dandy. Because Double Fine, well, they are Double Fine now, they were Lucasfilm games back in the day, I believe, or LucasArts. Go on, Bennett, how could I forget LucasArts? LucasArts back in the day, they have already made their money from that, so download away, pirate away, because it really, in the grand scheme of things, does not matter. And with consoles, I would say, ethically, I would say 2 generations. So let's say you've got a PS4, so don't emulate PS4 games, don't emulate PS3 games, but emulate every single PS2 game you goddamn like. But ultimately, like I've already said in this little rambly, slightly drunken rant, because I loved EmuParadise. It was good, it was reputable, it was simple, and I didn't get a single problem, because I did emulate back when I was a teenager, but I got virus to crap, and that killed like 2 laptops of mine before I knocked the whole thing on the head. Never had a single problem with EmuParadise, and now, because Nintendo have people running scared, f***ing hell. Nintendo, you really don't know how to internet, do you? Well, this was a bit of a different little video for me. This is more sort of talking about gaming news rather than actually just doing some Let's Plays or stuff. Obviously, the Let's Plays are still on the channel. But yeah, if you like this sort of video instead, then let me know and I'll maybe do some more of this in the future. But either way, for the moment, I've been Roggor, you've been listening. Thank you very much, and please be wonderful to everyone you love and those you don't. Good night.